Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are at 8:30. Going to go ahead and call the meeting to order here. My name is Brian. I'm an alcoholic. Welcome to the Conscious Contact Speaker Group. Just a quick reminder, this group is all about service. We have some H&I commitments. We got one that goes every Sunday night up in a treatment center in Quakertown. So if you'd be interested in coming out for that, sharing your experience, strength, and hope, you can see me, see Ron after the meeting. What else we got? With that, I'm going to introduce our lovely chairperson for the night. Please help me welcome all the way from Southern Canada, Kara.
Love you, friend. Good evening, y'all. Welcome home. My name is Kara, and I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. Hello. This is a one-hour speaking meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street, Doylestown, PA. Food and fellowship starts at 8 p.m. and speaker at 8:30 p.m. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. right here. Please come early and join us. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God reliance and service to others through the practice and teachings of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from their message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first name? Hi, Holly. Welcome. Hi, and welcome. In the back? Hi, Dave. Welcome. Behind Dave? Hi, Andrew. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Jill. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Jill. Welcome. Welcome all newcomers. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with a working knowledge of the 12 steps and willing to sponsor, please raise your hands. Are there any announcements for the good of AA? Nick?
My name is Nick. I'm an alcoholic. During the 7th division, if anybody needs to make a donation to Venmo, you can come see me at the meeting, whether it's a QR code on the back table. Also on Tuesday nights, for the next few months, I have an ongoing commitment at a recovery center in Sellersville. It's for men only. You can come share a message if you want to be of service. Come see me for that. And there's one more announcement. This is pretty cool. A new dawn in Quakertown, the 30th anniversary picnic, Saturday, August 16th at 7:30 a.m. Meeting at 8:30. They have a speaker, Karen R. from Tampa, Florida. She is the author of Crossing the River of the Nile, a story in the Big Book. So an actual Big Book story writer is coming to speak in Quakertown, and it's on August 16th. Come speak with the flyer.
Thank you, Nick. Our sister group is a Big Book study meeting that meets every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. just up the street at Salem UCC Church, 186 East Court Street, Doylestown. Coffee is on at 6:15 p.m. Please come join us. We have meeting lists and Big Books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a Big Book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purchase of the Big Books to help those who cannot afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Book and CD donations. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and our Facebook group. Subscribe and share. You can find our speakers there. Join our Facebook page to keep informed. And you can share upcoming events and meetings. Now, I'd like to introduce a good friend of mine, AJ. She's going to come up and read Just for Today Prayer of Recovery. Let's give AJ a warm welcome! Woo!
Good evening, everybody. I'm Adriana, a recovering addict. I'll be reading Just for Today prayer. Just for today, I will be agreeable. I will look as well as I can, dress becomingly, talk low, act courteously, criticize not one bit. and not find fault with anything and not try to improve and regulate anybody except myself. And with that, I will be introducing Kelvin.
Hey, my name's Kelvin. I'm an alcoholic. Welcome home. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience of strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problems and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or no fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contribution. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorse nor oppose any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help others, alcoholics, to achieve sobriety. I have John to come up and read the AA 12-step recovery.
Hi everybody, my name is John and I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. 12 steps of AA. Number 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Number 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Number 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Number 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Number 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Number 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Number 7, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Thank you. And with that, I'd like to bring Kara back up.
Our 7 traditions state every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. At this time, I would like to pass the basket. We have no dues or fees, but we have expenses. This group provides many services. Your donations cover food, rent, big book CDs, events and workshops, etc. There is absolutely no smoking on church property. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones and limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. Now, I'd like to introduce the speaker as a good friend of the Conscious Contact Speaker Group. Let's give Lizzy L. She came all the way from Oklahoma. Woo!
Hi guys, I'm Lizzy. I'm an alcoholic. So I have a sobriety date of May 31st, 2013. I have a sponsor and I take other women through the 12 steps as well. Love a meeting that references the 11th step in the title because, you know, I have an issue with living that like I have to have a spiritual solution for. And remaining in conscious contact is so important now that I have some time because, you know, it doesn't look like today like I want to drink. Today it looks like I am not practicing emotional sobriety and I'm like, you know, living in self-pity or fear or delusion or resentment. And I can do that with a drink in my body. I can do that without a drink in my body. So always appreciate a meeting that highlights the importance of seeking and remaining in conscious contact. So thank you guys for having me be here. You know, I'll start at the beginning. I got an hour, so we'll see how this goes. But I was born in a small town in Oklahoma. I don't even like reference it in the Northeast because most people don't know it, but it's called Enid, Oklahoma. You know, it's a small town. Like when you think of like Friday Night Lights, like the football show, it's a lot like that, you know, so everybody knows your name, you know, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm a middle child, which is pertinent, I think. And I have an immigrant father. So I grew up in a household where, you know, education, drive, ambition, those things were really important. And I had 3 siblings that from a very young age, I was constantly comparing myself to. You know, and I know a lot of people say like, I knew I was born an alcoholic. I don't know if I was born an alcoholic. What I do know is from a very young age, I used things outside myself to define who I was, because I always felt like I wasn't enough. Like I had to have something to let the world know that like I was okay. So I was a late bloomer. Like, you know, I don't remember like the first drink. I think it was sometime in like high school. I had my first drink. I know I got drunk, but I didn't drink again for a while because the basketball coach found out and I was running suicides the next day. And that's kind of the small town I lived in, you know, like you would get in trouble and like the athletic coaches would get involved, and they'd put you through some physical pain. So, you know, my drinking career really didn't take off for a while, but when I was growing up, like, you know, the sports teams, the medals, the tournaments, like they meant so much to me and who I was. And without that, like if I lost or if I showed up in a game and didn't play the way that I want to, like I was demolished, like I was not okay, you know? So I felt things big from a young age, and I didn't handle things gracefully when they didn't go my way. And I see that from, you know, when I was like probably about 12 or 13. And like I said, I had other siblings that I was constantly comparing myself to. I don't think like I had bad parents that were like doing that. I think I just like grew up in a family where there's like family dynamics, and one thing led to another. And I had an older brother that I wanted to be just like. And when I couldn't live up to like his achievements, what I felt was that like I'm bad, I'm not enough, and I got to keep seeking outside myself to find that. So, you know, some things happen, and I don't know how to deal with life. Like as a parent, I don't know how to deal with life. And I moved my senior year to Texas, which is a much bigger state. You know, like one of my best and worst defects, best meaning I use it a lot, worst meaning it's like pretty ridiculous when you look at it on paper, but is silent scorn. And the first time I saw silent scorn really come up was when I moved my senior year. I didn't talk to my parents for 3 months, like didn't say a word, because I had blamed them for making me do that, when in reality my dad had to make a living and we had to move for his job. But I'm so stuck in self from a young age, I make it all about me, and I'm gonna punish those around me for doing what they need to do in order to provide. So, you know, I didn't talk to him for about 3 months. And I always looked really young growing up, which sounds weird now saying because I have kids. But so like moving my senior year, everybody thought I was a freshman. It was like a weird experience where it was supposed to be the year I was like, you know, on cloud 9 and everybody knew who I was. And instead, people thought I was a freshman. I had to earn my starting spots on different sports teams. And I really just like felt lost. Like it was the first time in my life where like I really just had no idea who I was, who my friends were, who I could go to. And at the same time, my mom's originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, and that's where my dad had immigrated from. Yeah. The only person that likes that. It's a great city. But the same year I moved my senior year, Hurricane Katrina hit, and I think everybody kind of knows a little bit about that. So we had 13 people living in our house. So, you know, senior year I'm probably going through the most emotionally, but then I'm also like living in a house with people that are actually losing their houses, you know. So I just learned that my problems were like small. And once again, nobody told me that. This is like me making up this own story that I have about my life, you know, is that like my problems don't matter, people don't care about me. And so like, you know, when sports ended my senior year, like it was like on. You know, I was like the person in high school that like, if people found out what happened to me 4 years later, they were like, I cannot believe that. Like, how did that happen to her? But sports was the thing outside myself that made me feel okay. And when I didn't have that anymore, I needed a solution. And my solution was alcohol and other substances. And that's when like I put a substance in my body and it did something for me that it doesn't do for other people. And then I took it every day, you know, and that's like a really interesting thing to kind of experience, because I went from being this like golden child, high achiever, straight A student, like all of those things, to like all of a sudden, like I was the kid like showing up to class like intoxicated, you know? An important thing to know about me is like I always showed up intoxicated. So like I'm real good at like keeping the external looking good. Like I don't want things to fall apart externally, because I don't want you to ask me questions about what's going on with me internally. Which makes it difficult when you come into the rooms of recovery, because like I don't know how to tell you that I need help. So yeah, so it was just on, you know, and I started using every day. I'm one of those people that thought geographical changes would work. I have proved enough times to myself that it doesn't. So this was my first geographic change. I thought like if I just get back to Oklahoma, like I'm gonna be okay. Like the problem is Texas. It's not me, I just gotta get back to Oklahoma. So I go to Oklahoma for college and I'm thinking like, this is gonna make me happy. Like this is gonna make me okay. And it doesn't. I'm more miserable, right? Because I had placed like my happiness on like a different location, and then when it didn't show up the way that I wanted it to, I just get more miserable. And I just start doing a lot of things that like are not aligned with my values. And sometimes when people ask me what my definition of alcoholism is, it's like, you know, it's me prostituting my values and morals for like a drink or a drug. You know, that's what it looks like. It's not that those things are not important to me. They're important to me. It's just that this thing is more important, and it's my way of surviving right now. So, you know, I go to college, I go to class, like I always go to class. And things start progressing pretty quickly, and I start ending up in circles with people that like, you know, I shouldn't really be in. And, you know, I get through college, and some people are impressed by that I always see that as like just one of my masks, because like I said, my father's an immigrant, and education's like really important. So like if I'm not doing well in school, like they're gonna come see what's going on. And so like in order to keep my alcoholism going, like school had to look good. Like I had to still graduate. So, you know, I graduated from college, and here's my next geographical change. I think like, I'll just go back to Texas. Going back to Oklahoma didn't work, so I'm just gonna go back to Texas, and I'm gonna grow up. Like what I told myself is like, I'm gonna grow up. This is like, you know, me just needing to like be an adult. Like I'm 21 now, like I need to like just get a job, and then I'm gonna be okay. So I move, I get a job, and like I'm more miserable, you know? And I'm fascinated because like I keep thinking like, you know, it's these places, it's these people, when really it's me. And I cannot look in the mirror and see that at that time. And you know, I graduate from college in May, and in October I get arrested. And I get arrested with some pretty serious stuff. So like I go from like having this college diploma where I'm like gonna get a big girl job, you know, and now I got a record where like a lot of people aren't gonna hire me. And at this time, like nobody knew I had an issue. I don't think because people don't know something's going on, because I'm like 90 pounds soaking wet, like it's not looking real good, but I think people were scared to ask. And if I could keep everything looking good externally, like if I could keep the apartment and the job and these things, like I'm gonna figure it out, you know? So the denial that's very prevalent for me, it's prevalent for my family too. And I'm one of those people where like I don't really have alcoholism in my family. So like you go back far enough, I'm sure there is some, but like I don't, like I always struggled with like why me? Like I have 3 siblings and I'm like the one that's like wilding out. And like my grandparents aren't alcoholics, my parents aren't alcoholics, so I always really struggled with that. And the thing is like I just internally have like this thing that gnaws at me that needs something greater than myself to connect to in order to be okay. And I just didn't have that yet. And so that void just felt so big, and I wanted it to be everything but alcoholism. you know? Like, I wanted it to be everything but that. So I get arrested, I go to my first treatment center. I lie to everybody there the whole time. Once again, I do my straight A student thing, so you hand me like a handout to fill out in group, like I'm filling out your handout. You know, I'm getting my A pluses, I'm getting my stars. Meanwhile, like, I'm not telling you, like, I'm planning to drink again. Like, I'm just gonna wait this out until, you know, the law's off my back, my parents are a little bit happier with me, and then I'm gonna drink again, because I think I can control it. Like, you know, so my first treatment center, I thought, like, I can control my drinking. These people are crazy. I'm not like them. I'm terminally unique. And, like, that's cool that it works for them, but that's just not me. But here's the problem, right? Like, I don't think it's wrong if you think that. I didn't tell anybody. So that's the problem. It's like, I think people can, like, share their experience and help you when you're in that space, but I don't tell anybody when I need help. I don't know how to be honest, and I don't know how to ask. So, you know, I just suffer. What happens to me is the same thing that happens to everybody else. I drink. I don't just drink one. And it gets crazy pretty quick, you know? So, like, my dad's Spanish and Catholic and conservative, and he cut me off the moment I decided to go back out. He's not like we're gonna see if we can send her to treatment again. He was like, I'm done, and, like, if you want help, you can call me, but, like, we're not gonna do this. Like, it's been too hard. So I think that was probably one of the greatest gifts he gave me, because I think I needed to experience more pain. I don't think that necessarily for other people, because I'm not God. I don't know what people have to go through, but I think I really had to go through some, like, true pain where, like, somebody couldn't bail me out. Somebody couldn't pay the lawyer fee, somebody couldn't pay the bail bondsman. Like, I had to experience, like, those natural consequences for myself to really be brought to, like, a different way. And that's, like, you know, my first treatment to my last treatment's 4 years. 4 years of me being homeless, me running from the law, me just, like, not talking to anybody that, like, had love for me, you know, just hanging around a bunch of people that were transactional friends that I would have sworn to you were my best friends. Meanwhile, we're all just, like, using each other and trying to get one over to see, like, who can get the next one in. So it's 4 years of just, like, a lot of pain, and I don't really think the details matter much, because I think everybody that's sitting in this room has probably had a similar experience. But I always say, like, it got ugly pretty quick. And so, you know, I had this moment, and this is my first spiritual experience, and I didn't get sober after it, so I want to make that clear. I had a lot of spiritual, like, experiences or wake-ups where, like, I didn't act afterwards, so it didn't matter, right? Because, like, faith without works is dead, so I can have this incredible sort of, like, aha moment, and if I don't do anything afterwards, like, nothing really comes to fruition, right? It's just like a moment of the past. So this was, like, my first moment where I'm just sitting outside this dingy motel. It's kind of like a Motel 8. And there's a bunch of truckers and stuff, and I just remember, like, looking into the darkness and really kind of thinking, like, how did I get here? Like, how is this my life? And why am I okay with this, you know? And that's the first time I really asked for help. That's the first time I reached out, called somebody, and said, like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was willing enough to take some suggestions. So, you know, I've got, like, 4 years of not telling anybody the truth. And then I got a couple more years of taking some suggestions. Recovery's not a buffet. I wanted it to be. So, like, you know, I want to go and pick and choose what I want to do. And I did that for about 2 years and just kept ending up with the same results, you know. So I asked for help, and I wanted the help to look like the help that I wanted, not the help that I needed. So yeah, so I do the thing that Bill says in his story, right? Like, I try to do this, I switch to this, I do all of these things instead of just, like, conceding that, like, maybe I just can't do anything, you know? And I come to AA, which is interesting. I come to AA because, like, I know I'm a drug addict. I don't know I'm an alcoholic. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I came to AA, because my story always started with the relapses starting with alcohol. And I could justify that all day long, right? Because it's socially acceptable, it's everywhere, it's not illegal at this time because I'm past 21. I knew I couldn't do the other stuff. I was very aware that that's, like, a no-go. People can't just, like, casually use some of the substances I was using. But alcohol, I justified, and I mean, I went out with alcohol for, 2-3 straight years and always ended up back in the same place. And so when I was finally ready to get sober, I remember someone being like, you need to go to AA, not NA. Like, you need to hear people talk about alcohol, because your thing is like, you think you can drink and you can't drink. And both fellowships, it's, in my opinion, it's maintain total abstinence, so it's the same thing, but it really helped me to remember that I am an alcoholic. And I share that because I just know a lot of people in the rooms, especially where I'm from, it's a lot of young recovery, so a lot of people have that same story. So when I was finally ready, I went to treatment, I asked for help, and I probably cried for like the first 15 days of treatment. So like I was just so broken and so lost again. Like I was just like, what do I do? And the beautiful thing about these rooms is like, you don't have to know. People know and they tell you. And then if you listen, like it starts to happen for you. So I remember when I was in treatment, I had the person there, I said, just give me a number of a woman that can be my sponsor. I don't need to like them. I don't need to choose. I just need somebody that's reliable, because if I get out there for 24 hours and don't have a sponsor, like I'm scared that I might not get one. Like I knew that I was fully not trustworthy to do the program the way the program's supposed to be done. So I didn't want to leave myself any room to get the idea that like, oh, I can maintain sobriety and not go to a meeting. I can maintain sobriety and not do the steps. Because I already had a couple years of like trying that and it just didn't work. So, I got this woman and her number, and I did a 90 and 90. I really believe in 90 and 90s. I think they're super helpful. I don't like require them for sponsees, but I just think like it helps you get to know the people. I got a home group, and I started going through the steps, and I was miserable for the first 9 months. Like I always want to I was not like happy, joyous, and free. I was like really depressed and couldn't believe like all the holes I had dug and all the stuff I was gonna have to like be accountable for. But I also knew that like the substances weren't working anymore. Like I think when you get to that spot, you just know. And I was like, well, I can either do it this way or I can keep trying it the way I was doing it, but that wasn't working for me anymore either. So I just gotten kind of like to this place of willingness where like I held on hope for long enough and did the work for long enough that I remember when I was 9 months sober, my sponsor probably got sick of me. I called her a lot. I think I got a lot of problems. So, and I was on this like trail, and I was going through some stuff. Like I always tell people like I had to leave everything behind. So like I was somebody that got sober, and the boyfriend had to go, the job had to go, the friends had to go. Like none of it was like good to stay in my life if I wanted a fighting chance. And so I had to rebuild everything. And so at 9 months, I remember on the phone with my sponsor, I like had walked by this bench that I'd walked by in this park so many times, and this is how God shows up in my life, right? Like I've been by this bench a million times, and I look over as I'm on the phone with her talking about like some of my problems, and the plaque on the bench says, "A smooth sea never made for a skilled sailor," And there I am complaining about how hard early recovery is. And my God just shows me like there's a point to this, right? Like you've got to learn some stuff in order to know how to maintain sobriety in the long term. So, that sponsor really helped me through a lot, and she really helped me see like the first step. I love the first step because it has a hyphen in it, which is like a pretty specific punctuation mark, right? And it's like, my life is unmanageable without alcohol, which is why there's 11 more steps, right? Like, and I didn't understand that. When I came in the rooms, like I thought I had a drinking problem. And what I didn't realize is I have a thinking problem, and my thinking hadn't changed. Like my thinking hadn't changed, and my thinking is what leads me to the drinking problem. And so, I'm powerless over alcohol, and without it in my system, my life is really unmanageable. And she really helped me see that. So like, I thank God for her, because like, I did not understand that at all. And so, you know, I started to see the unmanageability and just really like what had presented in my life and the wreckage I had done. And I say like that, I was feeling a lot of those things that I had been running from so long. So like, I don't think early recovery is supposed to be this like great time. I think it's cool if it is for people. For me, I'm like, yeah, it got harder before it got easier, and then it got harder again at 5 years, and then it got easier again, and like it just kind of goes like that, and I'm okay with it. So yeah, so that was like, you know, she was a godsend, and I didn't really have a hard time with like believing in a higher power, because I just like, I had so many close calls. You know, like I've like had so many moments where like I should have died, or like I should have like killed somebody else, you know, or all of these things. So like I knew there was something bigger than me out there. My issue is learning how to connect to it and turn my will over, because I like control. And my alcoholism is basically like, in a nutshell, it's disconnection and control. And what recovery is to me is connection and acceptance, right? And I struggle with accepting things. I struggle with surrendering. I want to play God. I'll believe in a God, but like handing everything over to a God, like that's kind of a different thing for me. And me and my friend were joking on the way up here when we had dinner. We were talking about how we still have a step 3 problem. 12, 13 years into this. Yeah, the step 3 problem. You know, so to me, like a step 3 is always a work in progress, and it's really close to a step 11. You know, it's like if I'm in conscious contact, I'm usually not trying to control, but if I'm not in conscious contact, like my default is to try to control. So, you know, my first 4-step, I did it to the best of my ability, like I will say that, you know, but I have worked 4 steps since then that the weight and depth in those is so much different. So like I am a firm believer in continuing to work the 12 steps in sobriety, because like the 4th step I worked when I was 4 years sober is so different than the one that I worked when I was like 3 months sober, you know, both very helpful. But my first 4-step was kind of like just like how it is in the book, columns on paper, you know, this is who, this is what I'm accountable for. And it got me free enough, right? Like it got me free enough that it worked, because I'm a perfectionist. So when they say like be thorough and honest and all that stuff, I can get like really crazy with that. And I'm like, oh, it's not perfect yet, right? And my sponsor was like, just get it on paper and let's go. So she made me go fast because she knew I was like that. And so, you know, my first 5th step, I remember it, we were back on this porch and it was a nice day, and it helped me see some things. To me, it wasn't this white aha moment, but it helped me gain clarity on like who I am and how I show up in the world. And like when I don't have a spiritual solution, like I'll be honest with you guys, it's not pretty. Like people don't want to be around me. Like I'm not very nice. I get resentful at my 4-year-old. She's 4. You know, but like that's what happens. And so, you know, my 4th and 5th and my 6th, she had me do a little bit more with my 6th the first time, which I was like really, really grateful for. I read Drop the Rock. Really kind of sat with some of those defects, and now really know what my silent scorn looks like. You know, I really know what like my bad boundaries and relationships look like, my codependency looks like, all that stuff, because she really made me kind of dig into that a little bit different. And then I got to my amends, and I got to my amends probably like around that 9 months when I started to get some relief. And it was super funny because like all the amends I had like hyped up in my head were like not that great. And the ones that like I thought these are like small, like little, like no to do amends, like the ones that don't generate a ton of anxiety, like those were the ones that were actually really impactful. And if I've learned anything about the way my brain works, right, is like I'm often wrong. I'm wrong, like a lot of the time. And this was like a really good demonstration of that, because like my dad, who I told you guys about, like, you know, he can be pretty intense. So I just thought that amends was going to be like so powerful. And he didn't want to talk about it. So I had like prepared, prayed, done all this stuff, and went to my dad and was like, all right, here we go. And he cut me off like midway through my little speech that my sponsor had given me. And he was like, we're good. I don't want to talk about it. And it's an amends. So like, I got to honor that, you know, like if I go further, it's about me. It's not about him. And I wanted something more. I will tell you, like, I wanted it to be this like crazy aha moment where me and my dad just bonded. And it was not that. And that's okay, you know? And I love my dad, and that's okay, but that's just not what was in store with me. But one of my amends that like I didn't think I was gonna get to make, like God showed up and put that in my life like 2 to 3 years sober. It was a woman who I had taken a lot of advantage from back when I was ripping and running, and it was my boyfriend's mom, and I kind of wrote it that I would never see those people again, you know, and she just showed up on the East Coast for a family funeral and had like messaged me on some platform, because I don't have social media, but she had like found me. And I got to like sit down and like break bread and have lunch with her and make an amends and pay for the lunch, which blew her away, which is crazy. You know, that was an amends that I never thought I was going to be able to make, but if God put it in my life, I was going to be ready to make it, and God did, you know? So like, I've had those moments where people talk about where it's like, yeah, I've had these amends show up at the right time. You know, at the right time when I need to get out of self, and if I'm willing and connected to my program, I can. And if I'm not, I'll usually miss those opportunities, like I won't see the message or something like that. Yeah, and then 10, 11, and 12 is like, it's the maintenance, you know. So I got through the 12 steps probably within my first year, and started sponsoring women and doing the thing. And I'd love to sit up here and tell you guys that my meeting attendance has been perfect. I've always been using a sponsor. I've always been a great sponsor to other women. That's not my story. I'm 12 years sober, and there's years where I've strayed and I've suffered, you know. And the good gift that God gives me is like, I know the power that's in these rooms and with these people, and I'll never deny that. But what happens to me is I get like a little busy. I get like a little entitled. I start to think that like my life is mine and not God's. And then I'll start to struggle. And then, you know, if I'm willing and open enough, like somebody will call me. That's usually how it works. Ask me where I've been. And I can like find my way back home, you know, because like these rooms are home to me. I'm not somebody that sits up here with time and tells people like I got it all figured out. I mean, I've had some real crazy years in sobriety. The one thing I have done is not pick up a drink. That's like the one thing I've done. But I have gotten very untreated in sobriety, and there's nothing like being an untreated alcoholic, because at least when I was ripping and running, I had like that. Well, I was like in active alcoholism, you know. When you're sober and you're acting the same way, when you're being just as resentful and just as delusional and just as feared up, that's like a whole different ballgame, right? Like I don't have anything to kind of point at. I just like, I'm not taking care of my spiritual condition. So the bottom dropped out for me around 5 years sober. You know, I had another spiritual bottom. It was tough. It was like really tough, because I had all the things that I thought I would want when I was like 30, 60 days sober. And I, you know, had done all the things my way and hadn't invited God into that. So, you know, I got married, I had gotten a career, I'd gotten a place, but I didn't really have like God a part of my life. And so I built a life based on like what I thought a life should look like. And then my God is not punitive, but my God likes to laugh at me. And so that whole life got to fall apart. And in that falling apart, I got pushed back to my God, you know, like I got to get connected. Like I need help. I can't weather this storm without something greater than me, without people to support me and be around me. And so like, I'm a big believer of like those pain moments happen so like I can be reminded of like really what should be at the center of this thing. You know, it's not my life, like it's God's life. And the only reason I have this life is because I've chose to seek. And when I don't seek, I suffer. And so, you know, I get divorced. I get pregnant before I'm divorced. Like I said, a conservative Catholic family. Like I was the first divorce in my family. So like I had to go to my parents and be like, I'm getting a divorce. Nobody wanted to hear that in my family system. And then 2 months later, I had to say, I'm pregnant with some other guy's baby. And you want to talk about just sort of like this moment of truth that like I did not want to deliver because I was so scared of what everybody would think. You know, I was such a mess for so long that like getting my life together was so important to me. And then having to tell everybody that it was falling apart. I mean, man, you want to talk about humility. But I think I needed that, you know, and I kept living up to other people's expectations because like I just wanted to be enough. But like the truth of it is like I'm enough the way God made me. You know, I'm not like my parents' child, like I'm God's child, and like I'm enough the way I show up in the world. But because I get so hung up on trying to be everything for everybody, like I lose sight of that pretty quickly. And so, you know, thankful for me, like you can't really hide having a baby. Like, so like time clock's ticking. Like I'm short, so like I'm gonna be showing pretty soon. And so like I had to get honest with people and I had to get honest with myself. You know, and I did some really hard things. And at that time I like knew I needed, there's like sponsors in the room that are like really nice and want to be your friends. And then there's sponsors in the room that like could care less about being your friends and just want you to get well. And I knew I needed the latter. So I knew I needed somebody that was gonna like whip me into shape. So I had like called my friend who was like really big into the rooms at that time. And I was like, just give me a woman, like give me a woman that's gonna like really help me. And so I got this lady in New Jersey to sponsor me, and man, I did not know what I was asking for. So at 5 years sobriety, I'm doing a 90 and 90 again. Pregnant, you know, like I wanted to be like, I'm tired. Doing a 90 and 90 again, going through the steps again, and like showing up like a newcomer. Like that's what she asked me to do, was show up like a newcomer. And she made me do this 4-step. Like this one always sticks out to me where I wrote everything on paper just like it is in the book, but then there's this section underneath each resentment, and I had to write the story that I tell myself about the resentment. So I basically had to write my thought life. I don't know if anybody's ever heard that. Yeah, I see some head nods in the back of the book. That's a different beast, because you have to look at how crazy you are, right? Like it's different when I just have to write the resentment down and like what it affects and talk that through. But when I have to write my line of thinking on paper and then show that to another human being, I mean, it was very apparent how delusional I had gotten and how much I had like became a victim of my circumstance again, right? And I just was like so stuck in that self-pity loop that like feels so good, because then I don't have to take accountability. You know, poor me, like I got pregnant. Well, guess what? I decided to have sex, and that's what happens sometimes, you know? Poor me, I got a divorce. Well, I got married to the guy that like I thought was the right guy because everybody else liked him, and he's a good guy, you know what I mean? But he wasn't my guy. And so like trying to start to take accountability for like my world and my actions, and man, that woman she was tough, but she's exactly what I needed. I needed like, you know, a different set of eyes on my life to help me just see clearly. And I like, you know, like Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh, that's like who I like to be. So that's like my like alter ego when I'm like really in my untreated alcoholism. So like, I always need the person that like doesn't really care about my feelings. That's like the person that's good for me. Somebody that can like validate them, but then, you know, this woman taught me, and this has helped me, like, your emotions are valid, but they're not helpful. And I was like, oh. And then I was like, she's right, you know, because like I feel big. And when I feel big, I get like justified that like the world owes me something. And usually if I just seek God or go in like contemplation or prayer or meditation, my feelings don't feel as big, but that's like not my first thought ever. My first thought is like, you know, screw this person, or I can't believe they did this to me, or like who is the boss and why would he do this, or whatever it is. Like I just project blame. So she was exactly what I needed at that time. And you know, she I always credit her, she like whipped me back into shape. Like I got back into AA shape. And I think that's really like with time, that's like a different experience. It's a different level of like humility to like come in here and think you know some stuff. One thing she had me do that like I still practice today, she would make me say the set aside prayer before every meeting I came into. It's a beautiful prayer for people that don't know. But it's basically like, stop pretending like I know anything about AA. Like I don't. You know, and just really access humility when I like come into these rooms, instead of thinking like I know a little bit of stuff because I've got 5 years sober and I've been through the steps before. So yeah, so my life like fell apart and it fell together because I sought God. You know, like I totally see that. Like my connection with God put things in place in a way where like I couldn't destroy it because my MO is to destroy it. So I tell everybody that like I did everything backwards. So like didn't really get divorced, got pregnant. Some might argue I kind of had an affair because there's some weird overlap there that I like struggle to own sometimes. But, you know, got pregnant, moved into an apartment, got a house, had another baby, and now I'm married again. So, but I think that's my God showing up in my life because like I want to do everything the right way so like you'll love me. So you think I'm good enough. And what God did is God's like, no, you're going to do everything the wrong way because you're enough just the way you are. And like, you're going to learn that like, it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks because like, what matters is that like, I created you and that you're good enough just the way you are. So I did everything backwards. And guess what, guys? Everybody still loves me. It's so crazy. Like, you know, parents still love me. Like, everything's okay. Like, you know, maybe it's not the life that people would have wanted for me, but that's okay because, like, they aren't God either, you know? And so I just really leaned into my program at 5 years. And, you know, I have a husband that's in the program and God, he's like a powerhouse. And, like, when I'm not, like, stuck in self, I can hear him, you know, and his message. And when I'm not stuck in self, I'm not taking his inventory, I'm taking mine. Please believe I like to take his inventory though, you know? So yeah, so, you know, we're cruising right along and we're building this life together. Both my kids are oops babies. So when the second one came along, it was COVID. And I was like, oh no, like this is not good. We're both working full time. I mean, everybody kind of knows what that period of life was like, but it was kind of like another moment where I was like, man, I think I need something again. You know, like I am like not okay with the way life is. And so like I chose to go through the steps again, you know, because like for me today, recovery is really about showing up and like all of the roles in my life, not just like in the rooms of AA. Like it's easy enough for me to come here and be nice to people and shake hands and be like, yeah, God is good. It's more so when like I'm home and nobody can see, you know, and like my 6-year-old is being a 6-year-old. That's where like my resentment can really pop. And like if you look at the word resentment, like what it means is to feel again. So and then sentiment. And so when I get stuck in resentment, what I do is I just feel over and over and over again, right? And like I said, my feelings actually aren't helpful. Like I know they're valid, but they're not helpful. And so like when I get stuck in that resentment loop, man, it is the #1 offender for me. And it says it for everybody, but for me, it's like I will start to hate all of the things I loved yesterday, you know? Like the husband, the house, the job, the kids, like I'll decide that all of that sucks. My job is too hard. My kids aren't grateful enough. And my husband doesn't love me the way that I want to be loved, you know? And it's 24 hours. But that's 24 hours of me not being in conscious contact, not praying, not meditating, not doing the things I know that set me free. And my favorite line in the big book, because I think it describes my alcoholism to a T, is we missed the beauty of the forest because we were diverted by some of the ugliness of the trees. And that happens to me all the time. Like all the time, even though I'm 12 years sober, you know, if I am not, you know, in spiritual connection with like the universe, the God of my understanding, I'll just decide that like life isn't that great. And life is awesome. You know, at one point I was homeless. So like what I got right now is pretty great. But I can become entitled and ungrateful and live in those defects if I'm not aligned spiritually. And so that's really important. So like what that looks like for me today is, you know, I woke up this morning and me and my husband were having coffee outside and we were going through like a spiritual book, you know, and we were having a conversation and it was a lesson that talked about love and gratitude and how gratitude can't actually exist without love. And most people practice gratitude in a way that's not actually helpful. It's through comparison. Like, oh, I should be grateful because like my life is so much better than theirs, or because I have these things and they don't have them, right? And it's from this place of comparison instead of this place of love. Like, I need to practice gratitude through love. And so, you know, we read this, we do this lesson, we talk about it, we do a meditation, we do a daily reflection. My favorite daily reflection book is Day by Day. I really like Day by Day. And that's how I start my day. And once again, I'd love to tell you guys that I start every day like that, even though it really helps. I don't, you know? I try to start most days like that. And what I've learned in my recovery is like at any time I can begin again, you know? So like if tomorrow I don't do it, it's okay because Monday I can. And it's good for me that my God is like very forgiving. My God actually likes when I show up super messy because I don't like to show up super messy, and is accepting and forgiving as long as I continue to seek, you know? And my husband's really taught that, like there's nothing wrong with going astray as long as you come back again. And the beauty is in the coming back again. And so, you know, I do that in the morning, I pray during the day, and I try really hard to end my day with some nightly inventory. When I'm not doing nightly inventories, I usually have to do another 4-step. When I'm doing nightly inventories, I usually fare pretty okay. So I think those things are really helpful, and then just saying yes to opportunities like this. And those things keep me pretty grounded to God, like if I'm helping others, and if I'm in, you know, some type of meditation prayer, and some type of review process, you know. I will say with the nightly review, something that was very helpful for me is there's a specific part in the review that says we constructively reviewed our days. I'm pretty good at deconstructively reviewing my day. I don't know if anybody can relate to just like really loud inner critic that's inside me. So it's also really important for me to pay close attention to the constructively review, because I can just decide that like, oh, I'm the worst human being and I did everything wrong, you know. But if I keep those things, I tend to fare pretty good. And like, you know, they say the thing of like life beyond my wildest dreams, but really like what it is like I'm just like a good person that people want to be around. And like I have like friends, I can show up, I'm trustworthy, and like I show up to the day and like I try to do my best. And that's really what this has turned into, and that's like a pretty nice thing. Because at one point I didn't have that, and for a long time I thought like I needed these external things to define who I am, and now I know that there's like an internal solution if I decide to seek it. And you know, I'll kind of end with this. My recently I was going through some stuff at work, and you know, I got a lot of responsibility at my job, which I've asked for. So. And I was texting one of my friends that's in the rooms that's also in the same profession as me, and I was just trying to do like my vent thing, you know, which sometimes is helpful, but oftentimes like if I'm trying to do that too much, it's like a sign of like more of like an untreated thing, like I really need to like sit with it. And he just texted back, Lizzy, God is either everything or he's nothing. And I was like, dang, you know, and that is what recovery is. Like my God's either everything or it's nothing. And when I'm not aligned, when I'm not connected, like I don't like the word sick, but I get pretty unwell. That's how I would term it. And the outside world might not know that because I've learned to like put on a pretty good face. But like I know that with like how I show up and just like the agitation that I feel. And I want to be like a good mom. Like I want to be like a good wife. You know, I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good boss. I want to be like a good member of AA. And I can't do that. I can't do that if I'm not praying, if I'm not seeking, and if I'm not asking for help. And to me, those are the things that are really important, because like, you know, I get disconnected from God, and then what happens, I get disconnected from others, and then I get more connected to self, which is really tricky. And my ego like creates all this separation, but my soul craves connection. And the thing that I crave the most, I'll create the barrier to when I'm not like aligned with the things that I know and I'm not practicing these principles in all my affairs, which is really the important part of this. You know, it's like, can I show up and do the things that I know work, that are important? And can I show up with enough honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness day in, day out to realize that like I'm often wrong. I need people to share their experience with me. And I don't really know what I'm doing, but I've gotten this far from the people in these rooms and from remaining in conscious contact with the God of my understanding. And that's been pretty cool for me, you know? It's not my dad's God. It's not my mom's God. It's a God of my understanding, and it's worked out pretty great. And I can't really define it for anybody. It's like a lot of different things. And it evolves and it changes and it grows. You know, what I had at like 1 year sobriety is not what I have at 12. And you know, if every time I see my kids experience something for the first time, like I know God is real. Like I don't know if you've seen that like childlike wonder with things, but that to me is like, yeah, like God, life is pretty good, and I've gotten some pretty good things because like this program, these 12 steps, and the women in the rooms have really like shown up for me, even when I couldn't show up for myself. And you know, I don't really have much else to say, so I think I'll close with that. Thank you.
My name's Nick, I'm an alcoholic. Let's give Lizzy another round of applause. Awesome. Clear and concise message, powerful talk. Thank you so much for coming here. Our speakers come at their own time and expense. So we form a line in the front and thank them on a personal level. And she gave us some great warning signs on getting complacent in the program and watching for untreated alcohol and the awareness that we can gather. So look for those things and seek guidance in recovery. So we could use some help cleaning up, putting all the chairs away. We'll leave some of the chairs, around 8 chairs around the tables in the back over there. I'd like to thank everybody who contributed tonight, who was of service tonight. Again, if you want to make this your home group, show up early. There's no initiation, nothing to do to be a member. You're automatically in. All-inclusive, never exclusive. So if you care to join us, we will circle up and say a prayer, close with the Lord's Prayer. Okay, awesome. We'll have a brief moment of silence. Followed by our Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us